Hello, this is David, and the name of this video is The Nitty Gritty Part 2. And this is where we ended Part 1. We were waiting for the mimic to run and give us a beginning point for some of the adjustment rates, which we have here on the compass is going to try now to work with the appraiser. Now, it's not going to do like regression and just like here, just give you these answers. Here's the first set of answers, excuse me, but it expects now for you to interact with it. So let's start looking at this and see what we can do. So the mimic gave us some suggestions. We could have done it ourselves. We could have, if the appraiser is pretty sure of these adjustments, you could throw in kind of in the middle of your ranges and start with that. But we've got to start somewhere. These analysis, and I'll just start this first one on site. We do 4 analysis. One is a cumulative paired sales. And remember, all of this stuff is related to the book, the valuation analyst, research and extracting adjustment rates. And you really need that book to understand a lot of these concepts. Cumulative paired sales is a little different than just one pair of sales. Then the sensitivity analysis, which is based on the slope. It's just most of you can do sensitivity analysis. It's just a lot more quantitative and probably a little more sophisticated. Then it does the residual analysis 2 ways, one by keying on R squared and one by keying on the MAPE, the mean average percentage error of the residuals. So you got 4 methods, but you notice they're all different. We got 49 from 49 to 66. Now, remember the principle of expected conflicting outputs, and that's what that's based on. In other words, as analysts, we know that when you use different techniques, because of the randomness that's in the data, which hopefully comes mostly from the market, but it can also be data, inaccurate data. So the data has this randomness in it, and we expect different techniques to give us different answers. And we're going to try to work with that and utilize what the appraiser knows and end up with kind of the best of both worlds. Now, I'd mentioned earlier that in markets A and B and some of the other videos, the compass has kind of got data more like that, and it gives you all the answers. But I want appraisers to see it when you don't get all the answers. So there's a lot of randomness in this data. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do is consider 3 cases. Number 1 is just accept this. Now this is just this 52,000 was generated by a little algorithm that looks at this and says, well, I think maybe 52,000 is a good number to use. It's a little more sophisticated than just taking, like throwing out the 2 highs or just the average. It's also been built to prevent something that I would call model drift. And that keeps you from running and running and running. Then you start getting these absurd answers. So, okay, so let's get back what we're doing here. So we're going to do what the appraiser thought that this would probably be 30 to, I've got here 30 to 50. Let's look here at let's see what we put here. Yeah, it was 30,000 to 50,000. Okay. And the appraiser's not going to be right on all these. Matter of fact, the appraiser's not right on some of these, but we never would be. So we're going to try to keep this realistic. So I just want to make sure I was given the right number, 30 to 50. So 52 is around that number. We could change this to just go to 50 because 50 was kind of our high. We could put 50,000 here. Now, in this case, we changed it. So it's not a case 1, which would be just use what it gives you the first time. This is a case 2 because I changed it, but it's within the range of these outputs. Okay, let's do the gross living area. All right, now the gross living area, the appraiser thought it would be 70 to 100. The answer is 79. That's not bad. So I guess we could leave it at 79 because the appraiser thought 70 to 100. So we're going to leave this as a case 1. We're just going to accept the first answer it gives. Now let's go to the pool. All right, the pool, the appraiser thought the answer would be 15 to 30,000. It's 11. It's a little bit low. He thought 15 to 30. What's the highest here is 16. You know what? I think let's just not buy that answer. Let's put 20,000. Now we've changed it so it's not a case one. Is this number within these ranges? From 12, looks like from 4 to 16, we're outside of the range. So this is now a case three. There's three cases. This is a case three. When you use a case three, you have to put the X here. The X does two things. It reminds you that you're outside of the range of what the compass returned. Also, when you're done, if you give up on it, it's not going to, when you build the report, it's not going to bring this information in that conflicts with what you've used from the adjustment you think it should be. Now let's go to location. All right, location we thought would be from 8 to 10. That's giving 13. We thought 8 to 10. Now we may not know it's 8 to 10, but we kind of thought it was 8 to 10. So we could put 10,000 in here. And so that's a case two because we've changed it, and the 10,000 is within the range of these outputs. So that's a case two, so we don't need to put the X mark here, X mark. All right, let's go to day since sale. We thought, the appraiser thought 2 to 6%. It's coming out 8, and the appraiser's pretty sure on this one. So the appraiser's going to put like maybe 5%. Now, that's a case two, or we changed it, so it's not a case one, and it is a case three because the 5% is not within the range of any of these outputs. So we've got to put our X. All right, now if I wanted to know what the Mimic used for the direct sales, I could click back on it and it will tell me the Mimic thought it was 7.2. Okay, we don't need to know that, but I want to be sure you knew that feature was there. Okay, now the condition, let's click it. The appraiser thought from a -4 to a -8. Okay, these are all returning higher. So let's put a -8 in here. Let's go to the high side. Well, the appraiser thought -4 to a -8. So maybe we'll just go to maybe even like a -6,000. Okay, now a -6, we changed it. It's not a case one. Is -6 within the range of these outputs, the 4 outputs? And the answer is no. So it's a case three. So we've got to put a check there. Now let's run the quality. And we thought the quality was 2 to 6, -2 to a -6,000. Man, we don't have that here. So we're going to let's put a -3 kind of in the middle of what we thought. And let's check that because it's not within the range. Okay, now what we've done is the 7 property features we were trying to find, we've went through them one time with these series of analysis. And we call that one iteration. Now remember, we didn't have to do any of the green ones because they're the same for the subject and the comparable, so they didn't need any adjustments. Okay, so we've done one iteration. So when I click again, the last one I did was quality, and until I click one of these buttons, it's not going to enter. But if I wanted to just stop and see where I am, I would click over here, use my inputs. Now that takes the -3,000 and moves over to our grids. And if you remember from watching some of the other videos, there's actually 11 grids in this that works. Okay, let's see what's next then. Now, so far, it's found 3 of the 7 features mathematically. Now, these iterations, we really want to use probably 2 or 3 typically. We want to use 2 or 3 iterations. One's usually not enough for it to adjust, and over 4 is too much. 4 may be too much, but 4 or 5 certainly is too much. Now, we say, why would these change after these iterations? And we need to remember that the best adjustment rate for a particular, let's say gross living area, the best adjustment rates will depend on what the other adjustment rates are. And, you know, as an appraiser, you really know what that means. That means if you're doing a set of paired sales, for example, and you want to extract the swimming pool adjustments, what you're trying to get. One has a swimming pool, one does not, but one is 200 square feet bigger. You know you have to adjust for that 200 square feet or it won't give you an accurate output for extracting the swimming pool. And so that's what we're doing here. And what we're really doing is we're fighting randomness, and we're using a lot of sophisticated tools. Most of them are appraiser tools. The let's run side again, so we want to iterate 2 times. The residual analysis we're not familiar with, but it's discussed thoroughly in the valuation analyst book, and it's easy to use, and it's an important tool. So let's look now. We thought before 30 to 50, we got 48. I'm just going to leave this. That's a case 1. Let's go to the gross living area. It was 79, and talk about it. Let's see how it changes. It went down to 70. Okay, now the appraiser thought 70 was low, but it could be as much as 100. And so the appraiser doesn't buy this. The appraiser is going to go ahead, let's say, because if this number's wrong, it's going to make these wrong. So the appraiser is going to go, no, I think I'm going to try 90 here. Now 90, we changed it, and 90 is not in this range of output. So we're in a case 3, we have to exit. All right, let's undo the pool, and let's run the pool again. I don't remember what we got before, but the appraiser thought it was 15 to 30, and see, we're not getting anything like that. So the appraiser might go, no, no matter what I do, I think we're 18,000. So you see how the appraiser has to work with this analysis. Now let's go to location. All right, the location is giving us 13, and we thought the location was 8 to 10. So maybe we stretch it and go to 10,000. We'll just change this, and we'll do a case 2. We'll do 10,000. We changed it, but it's within the range. You see, from 19 to 13,000, so 10's within the range. Now, you'll notice when I click here for day since sale, it won't run until I take the X off. So I'm going to take the X off. That shows me what the mimic was. Didn't really mean to click that. Okay, so now let's run the day since sale. And again, it's staying high. And we just don't, we know the appraiser knows pretty much what this appreciation rate should be from, whether somehow in using their experience and knowing about this market. And so we're just not going to buy that. So let's just put that at 4%, and we're going to exit. And now let's undo this one, and let's do the condition. And now we are minus 10. We thought, well, we are actually from a minus 8 to a minus 10, and we thought the condition could be as high as a minus 8. So maybe we'll just put a minus 8 in here. Now it's a minus 8. This is a case 2 because we changed it, but we're within the range of these 4 analysis. So we're going to, and really there's really three analysis. There's the cumulative paired sales, sensitivity, and there's the residual, but I call them 4 because I do the residuals 2 different ways. So it's okay to say 4. All right, so we put 8 in here in condition, and we got to put in, no, we don't have to put in X because it's case 2. Now, again, I want to run the quality, but you see it won't run until I undo the X. All right, don't like the zeros, just don't buy it. We're going to put about a minus 3,000 in here. And I've got to put an X. Now, to enter this, finishes our second iteration. I have to put in here, use my inputs. So we got a decent R squared, 0.92. That's great. Anything over a 0.5 to me is very usable. This market showing about a 6% random variance in it, because we've kind of worked through this so that we know there's probably a plus or minus 6% variance. The MAPE is 3%. That's good. So all this is good. And we'll talk about our value later, but our value's decent here, and we'll give the value here in a minute, what it is. So we've done 2 iterations. Now we're just going to look at a 3rd iteration. So we're going to click here. Let's see, and I'm mainly going to do the ones that have the X's. And because the 3rd we're probably going to end. See, and we just don't buy this. Let's just throw 90 back in to get it up where it should be, and probably what your peers are using, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we can't get it. Let's do the pool now. Okay, the pool we thought would be 15 to 30,000. We're not getting anything. We'll just throw a round number for 20,000 in for the pool. The appraiser feels pretty strong about that. The location's good. Let's see if we can get, let's see if our day since sale will come back, and it won't. It's going to stay there. So let's put a minus, let's put about a 4% in there and check it. The condition was good. Let's undo this. All right, and our quality is, no, it's actually 0 to a plus, and we know that's not right. So we're going to do a minus 3,000. Okay, so now after 3 iterations, we ended up with support for our site, support for our location, and support for our condition. So we only got 3. Now with this particular data set, depending on how you do this, you can actually find up to 4 of them, but you can't find more than 4. The randomness in the data just won't let you. And that's the whole purpose of this nitty-gritty, is for you to understand that when you use the compass, unless you're in a market A or B, you don't expect it to get most of these adjustment rates. But if you're in a market category A or B, you would expect it. But we know this is mixed up. This is a little bit random. So we know we're not going to get all of our data, and that's kind of what we want it to show. So we want to make sure we use our inputs. Now let's do one other thing. Let's look at our value. We're 374. The actual value was 373,000. So actually we're just like, less than 1%. We're just like almost exactly on it. So our value is like perfect, and it doesn't always do that. If I went and ran this again, I might get more returns for my adjustment rates, but my value wouldn't be as good. Now let's talk about the ones that we X'd. What are your obligations about this? Well, you're going to be able to say, I attempted to extract the adjustment rate for the gross living area and all of these that are X to be the kind of the same, the gross living area, and was unable to extract a reasonable adjustment rate based on a direct mathematical method. Therefore, I've relied on another method. And then you would tell what you used. It might be I relied on a cost-based method. I relied on maybe if it's a rental, a income, a gross rent multiplier. Well, however you do it now, before you ever heard of the compass, that's how you would do it. So the compass isn't going to answer all your questions, but it's going to kind of try to take where you were before. Assuming you're not really sophisticated regression user, and because regression's super, especially in market categories A and B. So I'm not knocking regression, but we're in a category C. We were lucky to get our 10 sales. And so however you did it before, you're going to have to explain the gross living area. You're going to have to explain the swimming pool. You're going to have to explain the day since sale, and you're going to have to explain the quality. But 3 of them will be done, and you've done your due diligence because you attempted, you tried, and that's the way you always want to start this. Okay, so that's what you do here. We did click the use my input. You click that over and over if you're not sure if you clicked it. Now let's pick our comps, and I'm going to say sort. You can see I ran this a minute ago. And it says, based on these weight of importance, you should probably use comp 2, 10, and 8. I'm going to look down here, and I notice that the average of all my comps is 374, and the average of these 3 is a lot higher. It could be that that's just the way the subject is. I'm not going to really study that too much right here. I'm just going to say maybe I get rid of this one and click this one, just to show you can change these. Then hit close. Then I'm going to say build a report. And in this report, you're going to get 2 reports. Can kind of consider a report 1. You can see down here like report, kind of consider that report 1 and report 2. This one explains your adjustment rates. You can include this in your report or in your work file. Remember, we found 3. That's all we're able to find. Here's our evidence for them. So it puts the evidence in here so everybody can see the charts. And for example, the site, you used 48, and it shows that you could have probably used anywhere from 36 to 70. So I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Most people would throw out the high and the low. You're around 50-ish and you were at 48. So it shows that you did your due diligence more or less. Remember, this is a beta version, so this grid is not exactly like the Fannie Mae grid. And if people like this compass and use it, eventually we'll try to get better data input, and we'll make this grid just like the Fannie Mae grid or the URAR, grid. And the data then would go straight. When you're done straight in, you wouldn't do much else with it. If you're doing a non-secondary market, you could use this grid and the information here and do your direct sales comparison approach.